Welcome to Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. Each week, the NI Bullpen will be covering the world of comics, talking to creators, deep diving into some fantastic stories, and much more. Now let's hand it over to the team and turn a page.
And what is going on, everyone? It is Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you are tuned in to Nerd Initiative for another edition of Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. My name is Ken M. You know me as the host of the ODPH podcast. I'm also Nerd Initiative Editor-in-Chief. To my right, your left at home, it's not our pop culture connoisseur. It is our guy in the chair usually, but you know him as the host of the 3FN podcast. You know him as the host of Wrestling Night Live every Thursday night right here on Nerd Initiative YouTube. It's the one and only Rich.
Thank you. It's awesome to be here. And I almost went into Tom's live and direct from a folding chair in the ODPH basement. It's but I that's copyright infringement. So I'm just happy to be here and not behind the camera, although I am still running the show from this seat. So awesome. And very nice to be with everybody. And I can't wait to talk about what we have with our special guests. So without further ado, I know we have one more member of the team to talk about first, though.
Absolutely. You know him as one half of the dynamic duo, bringing you that pop culture dialogue each and every week with a draft to go with it. It's the only Matt from Hops Geeks News. Matt, what's going on?
Listen, Rich won't do it, but we're talking about some wrestling tonight. So, you know, right off the bat, coming at you live and direct, straight from a rolling chair in the Hops Geek News studio. It's Matt, one half of Hops Geek News, and I'm here with some extraordinary people to talk about some extraordinary things. And there is very, you know me, you know Ken, you know Rich. This is right up our alley. We are pumped, and it's going to be a really good night, brother.
Oh, absolutely, because there is a book that is coming out from Masked Republic and Massive Publishing on July 17th. That is going to be combining the worlds of pro wrestling and superheroes in a like I say, this kind of felt like a once in a lifetime dream come true, because you're going to have so many elements in your new favorite comic universe known as the LUCHAVERSE, because LUCHAVERSE Catalyst is going to be dropping then. The FOC is June 17th. So you want to make sure you get down to the LCS and order your copy. And we have a very special guest joining us for this episode. And like I say, his resume speaks for itself. Voice acting, video games, rock and roll, comics. He does it all, and he is the mastermind behind this brand new universe. Please welcome to the show the one and only DEIGO Valenzuela. Diego, what is going on?
Hey guys, I'm just so happy to be here. It's kind of intimidating, honestly, because I just like looking at your work and everything. Just being here is really, I'm really excited to talk about the nerds and comic books and lucha libre and where that all comes together, man.
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to give me an ego. Stop it. You're intimidated. Come on. Listen. I'm going to walk around. That's a compliment. I'm carrying the rest of the week. All right.
Yeah, like I say, we're just blown away by you coming on here to talk with us, because this is one book that when it came across our wire, all of us really went like, wait, what's going on here? And just like the excitement we had just seeing the cover of issue number 1 coming out, we were all like, okay, when is this? And we have to talk about it. So why don't you walk us through, how did this whole Luchaverse come about?
So the Luchaverse as a concept began a few years ago, even before I joined the Masked Republic as a writer, as the head of Story Worlds, actually. It was created by Ivan Plaza, Marco Lopez, Kevin Kleinrock, who is the president of Masked Republic. And the idea here was kind of to recapture that concept. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the classic wrestling lucha libre movies from the 60s, 70s, 80s, featuring Santo and Tiniebla and Blue Demon, which were like this incredibly campy and cheesy movies that were actually considered art films in Europe, because they were so out there that people thought they were some kind of subversive art. And if you guys, some of the nerdiest guys in your audience probably know Mystery Science Theater 3000. They have one episode, and I think it's the 5th season, in which actually has this one Santo movie, and it's a lot of fun. So what we kind of wanted to do is recapture that magic of having these characters whom you can meet as a person and whom you can go watch their matches live, And then you see that actually those matches are only half of their lives. And once they're done at the ring, they get in their car, cave flooding behind them, and they go fight a werewolf. So that is kind of the thing we wanted to capture in these new comics. That was the vision behind the Luchaverse. So what we're doing here is not a wrestling comic. This isn't about what happens on the ring. It's exactly what happens outside of the ring. What these characters do once they stop wrestling each other and see the bigger things that are threatening the world and even the universe, if we want to go really big, which we do.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's pretty much the idea behind it. And the catalyst, which is this first 3-issue run that we're launching beginning July, it's just the beginning. It's the kickoff of something huge and very, very exciting.
Well, on this book, you got to work with possibly one of the most recognizable luchadors, if not the greatest luchador, in Rey Mysterio. And he is a prominent character. And of course, he has tons of popularity. As I just said, possibly one, if not the greatest luchador, and definitely the most recognizable in our lifetime.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Was there any direction you wanted to take with his character in these books?
So, like I said before, like this book was actually written by Ivan Plaza and Marco, not by myself. But I did when I read it, I did work on the Cartoon Network show Rey Mysterio versus the Darkness as the head writer. And something that I can tell you about this is really interesting to me is that we both wrote different mediums for the same character. And it's really cool when I read the Rey Mysterio, let me call it the take of Rey Mysterio that Ivan and Marco did in this fantastic first issue. I saw it and I was like, this is not what we did in the show, but it's still definitely Rey Mysterio. It is so cool that different teams of writers took the same character with similar ideas and they roll with it, and they came up with two different things that are absolutely on brand with the character. And that is something that I love. And yeah, Rey Mysterio is 100% the most recognizable mask ever. It was so cool to have him do this guest appearance in issue 1 of Catalyst.
Now,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead, Rich. Sorry.
Sorry,
No.
no, I was going to say because I was pointing out before we went live that Dominic, his son, once did an interview in a Spanish publication where they asked him why he didn't wear a mask, and he was like, "Because I'm not ugly like my father."
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
a perfect heel thing to say, but it was just like, it's kind of funny how like that's what he's known for is the mask, and his son was just like, "No, I don't need to wear that."
Not for me, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny because like so many pro wrestlers, they literally take on the medal after their dads, like Tinieblas after Tinieblas Senior, or Blue Demon Junior after Blue Demon, and Hijo del Santo, which is awesome. And I do like the idea of Dominic just going, nah, I'm actually going exactly the other way around.
It's worked for him too. Like,
Yeah, it
he's
absolutely
taken
can.
off on his
One
own
hell of a
character.
heel. Yeah.
And I've loved like their interactions and things in the ring, and you know, going from working with Ray in the past as well, how did the pitch for this comic book go? Like, was it an easy, instant pitch to him, or what was the kind of the process behind this?
I'm not sure I can answer that question clearly because this all happened before I joined the Mass Republic.
Okay.
But I do believe that the Mass Republic, one of their branches, is actually like merchandising, licensing, and contract negotiation for their clients. I am sure that they came to a mutual agreement among these whole arrangements.
Right.
I
All
mean,
right.
yeah.
So, like I say, with the luchadors here, obviously, this is going to be one that is expanding universe. Is there any other luchadors we might know from certain federations going to be swinging through here? Or what can you tell us maybe a little bit about some other guests that are going to be swinging through this new universe?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of characters that some of which we can't give away right now, but I know you can expect to see Solar and Superastro, who are just totally kick-ass, and I love writing for them. You're going to be able to see the Lucha Brothers, Penta, Cero Miedo, and of course his brother Rey Fenix, and you're gonna see which is one of the most fun to watch and write, Conan, which is
Nice.
It's so much fun because like capturing the voice of each of these characters, which is something that Marco and Ivan did tremendously well. They are just so different from one another. Like you're going to see Rey or Tinieblas playing like this this one kind of character, and then Conan just don't giving a damn and just start talking shit out to everyone, and just being so in character. So those are a group of characters that you are going to be able to see during this run, and most fun you're going to see interacting with each other, which is some of the best stuff that I think I wrote for this comic, for the finale of the Catalyst, is seeing them interact with one another, and it kind of feels like an Avengers situation where these huge, larger than life characters meet with each other and how they clash and in which senses they get along and which one among them don't get along with each other, and that was so much fun to do.
Oh, I could only imagine, because especially when you're talking about just wrestlers being such larger than life, and then the fact that you get to kind of bring them into this world and really do a take that we don't really see that often, and to really give that side of pro wrestling to the masses here, I mean, is just something that really just stands out. Like I say, we're just looking at the covers from the first couple issues. It's something that just jumps out to us as the reader, that this has got to be just like a dream come true for you as a fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's a dream come true on various levels, because I've been a fan of luchadores since I was a kid. I've been a fan of superheroes. I've been a fan of comic books. I've been a fan of some of these specific characters. So it actually writing for them under their with their blessing on something that is historically canon for their character. It's just incredible. I like telling this story. It sounds really romantic, but I swear it's true. That when I was a kid, when I was like 5 or 6, I was walking with my mom on Mexico City. If you guys have ever been to Mexico City, like, you are going to see a lucha libre mask somewhere, either like on a wall or being actually physically sold somewhere. And it's just such an important component of the culture and the climate in Mexico City. So I was walking down the street and we stopped by this newsstand, and there was this wrestling magazine featuring Blue Demon on the cover. And the first thing I thought was, this is a superhero, like, I don't know, a superhero movie, superhero comic, something. But the first thing I saw when I saw this big guy with a mask and the cape and the boots and everything is, this is a superhero. And no, that they explained to me, no, this is like an actual person, and if you want to see him fight, you can actually go to the arena and see him fight. And this was like so mind-blowing to me at my sweet 6 years of age, because it was like, what do you mean? Because I know Batman doesn't exist outside of the comic book pages.
Sure.
But what do you mean this guy does? So that is something that's really cool to me, because I think there is a very obvious association, and I have always said that luchadores in particular, and masked luchadores in particular, are the closest thing we have to actual superheroes. They have a mystique around them with the masks and the capes and the whole custom thing. There are some characters who have never been unmasked for decades. So there are these like Super Astro. Nobody knows what his face looks like. And that is crazy to me. And that is awesome to me. And that is 100% not a fantasy. That is something that's actually happening with this person and this character. And I think there is an also obvious association between comic books and superheroes. So bringing luchadores to the comic book world is just extremely obvious, like just one very small step, right? Mm-hmm. So seeing these comics come to life and eventually writing these comics just felt so natural. And a quick shout out that I have to do here, that is one of the coolest things about the Catalyst, is Marco and Ivan did an exceptional job at capturing the genre that each of these luchadores represent. Like each of these comics are definitely part of the same universe, and you can tell they are part of the same universe, but they are completely different from one another. Like Rey Mysterio feels like this big action film, right? And Tinieblas feels more like a horror movie, and maybe the Lucha Brothers feel more like this martial arts fantasy, right? And then the end of the Catalyst, which is the one I wrote when I joined Masked Republic, at the end of issue 3, these characters come together, which does feel that's why I mean it kind of feels like an Avengers situation. And the way they capture these voices and these genres for each of these characters was such a great way to represent them on page. And I'm so proud to just continue that legacy.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. I'm going to switch up my question a little bit, because you kind of answered my question, but I kind of have a little side to it though. As you just went over, wrestling and comic books do share a lot in common, especially Lucha Libre, where you have the colorful costumes, the masks, the high flying and everything going on. With that being said, and doing this kind of crossover where you're bringing in that, are you hoping to bring more people around the world into lucha libre? Because some people, like, we're in the States, and I mean, I personally, myself, and Ken, we definitely tune into AAA. We tune into CMLL. We've been known to watch Triple A Mania. That's kind of, but a lot of people in the States haven't been exposed to this. Is this something that is kind of like a side goal, since you have so much love for the art?
I love this question because I can tell you it's not something we hope for. It's actually kind of the mission statement of Masked Republic. Like, the idea behind Masked Republic and everything we are doing, both in the entertainment world and the pop culture and everything, is to bring lucha libre beyond the limits of Mexico. So it is something we love here, and it is something that's an important component for our culture. But we know it's something that everybody in the world can enjoy because it's just a spectacle. Like, everybody can enjoy a spectacle. And that is part of what we're doing here. And going back to the story I told you before, I love the idea of someone who isn't familiar with these characters, or even lucha libre, to kind of walk by the comic book store and see the cover for Tinieblas or Rey Mysterio or whichever of these characters, and go like, hey, is this a new superhero or something? And they can pick it up and go, oh crap, okay, it is a new superhero, someone I'm not familiar with. And if they can go through the same motions I went when I was a kid of, holy crap, what do you mean this is an actual person who wrestles, and I can watch their matches on YouTube or live even, that would be like an absolute dream come true. And which is why we are doing our very best to make this series of comics as accessible as possible for new readers. You don't really need to know any of the lore behind Rey Mysterio or Tinieblas Jr. or anything to pick up these books and start reading. You might find some winks and some stuff for really, really eagle-eye readers, who will pick up some stuff we put in there. But they are meant to be accessible for anyone who doesn't really know Lucha Libre or any of these characters.
Well, shoot, I got to switch my follow-up question then too, because because you kind of answer, because you've been a wrestling fan. I was going to ask you, like, what was your introduction to wrestling? But I think, since we're talking about your mission statement is getting people involved in this world, in this culture that you've been just absolutely, perfectly, it is romantic. I mean, comics, superheroes, even wrestling, because I remember when I was a kid seeing these wrestlers doing these like defying stunts. They are superheroes, real life superheroes, some of the things that they do, and they get back up and they take the punishment. What would be the match you would say that, like, somebody's, hey, where do I start? What would be your all-time favorite match then, to be like, hey, start here, watch this, trust me?
Oh man, for Lucha Libre, the thing that and this is something that I've done before, and which is so cool, is watching a match like on YouTube or whatever would be great. And honestly, anything involving Psicosis and Rey Mysterio, it's sure to make you have fun, and it does have everything that makes Lucha Libre, which is like the heart and the high flying stuff and the masks and the flashy costumes. What I would say, and this is kind of a tall order, honestly, but if you want to get into Lucha Libre, the best thing you can do is go to a Lucha Libre match. Mm-hmm. And I mean any match. It doesn't have to be Rey Mysterio. It doesn't have to be like a huge name. Any Lucha Libre match you can catch. Maybe in Mexico City if you're around here, but I know Masked Republic does many Lucha Libre shows in the US. They've done on festivals and concerts and all kinds of events. And if you are interested in this, you can follow Masked Republic on Twitter. There are a bunch of events. But I have done this before because, and any wrestling fan, not only Lucha Libre, can probably relate to wanting to share this passion you have and finding some resistance from people thinking, nah, man, it's too goofy, it's scripted, it's whatever. It's something that always happens, but something that I've almost with a perfect batting rate is that people who are kind of reluctant to enjoy Lucha Libre, once they find themselves at the arena, like feeling the atmosphere, hearing people yell out all kinds of stuff, like from support to the worst obscenities you can imagine, and seeing the actual luchadors doing their stuff, it's impossible not to enjoy it. I've taken people there who live with a mask on, right? Like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. So that is probably the best thing I can say. And I know it is a tall order, but something more accessible, because I'm all about accessibility, would definitely be just look up any Psicosis Rey Mysterio match, because they are just incredible, all of them.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I will say this. It just came to me when you were talking. The nice part about lucha in comparison to like American pro wrestling or Japanese pro wrestling or, the European style, because everybody has a different style. The one thing about lucha that kind of can get past a lot for a lot of people is the acrobatics and the wonderful fast paced moves mixed with the colorful characters kind of takes when you're watching sometimes American wrestling, there's more emphasis on the, how do we put it nicely, the soap opera aspect, the story behind the story. In lucha, they have stories, don't get me wrong, but what's happening in the match, that match will tell you what you need to know.
Yes,
you know what I
that
mean?
is completely true. And in part, why I mean what I say, that you can just pick up any lucha libre match that you can go to, and you will enjoy it. You don't need to know the lore and the storylines behind it, which is actually a great observation that you just said. That like if I watch WWE, I need to be more or less familiar with the relationships between these characters, between these wrestlers. In lucha libre, it's just the big flying action and the big colorful costumes.
Yeah, but like on top of that, also I've noticed in lucha a lot, you can really quick tell who's the technico and who's the rudo or face or heel, whatever you want to call it, in the match, and they make it so easy for you. You know what I mean? It's not like it doesn't take a rock. The guy who's usually wearing the darker colors is usually the villain. The guy who's wearing the bright colors is usually the hero. And just like a comic book, you can open up the pages and go, oh, this is who I'm supposed to cheer for. This is who I'm supposed to, boo. And as you pointed out, it's just super colorful. One of my favorite experiences with Ken is a few years ago, there was an issue with AAA where they couldn't show Triple Mania on pay-per-view in the States for some reason. So the owner was just like, we're just going to give it away for free. Here's the link on Twitch. And so I know some Spanish, but I'm not, bilingual enough to like understand. So it's all in Spanish. But the cool part is we never missed who we were supposed to cheer for. We never missed who we were supposed to boo. We never missed anything in the story. You could tell just from what you were watching, even with Spanish commentary, who you were, who was the guy and why they were doing, just in the match. Like there was I do believe that in particular one was who was it, Valedor versus Psycho Clown for the mask versus hair.
Yep.
And but you knew that there was, even though you couldn't hear the story, it didn't matter. You knew exactly that this was so heated that Psycho Clown might have to give up his mask, or, Valedor is going to have to cut his hair. And you're just like, who's going to win this match? And like, you get invested. So it just, like you said, it speaks volumes for that art form, that you know instantly what you're supposed to be doing. And like I said, that's why it's such a great comparison, especially lucha, to the comic books.
Yeah, I love that story. Like I'm probably gonna share that story eventually, because it is not something that I could experience, because like I was born in Mexico City, but I absolutely can understand what you mean when just hearing the cadences of the way they are commentating and seeing the way they talk to each other, the mannerisms and the whole theatricality of it, you 100% understand it. It goes beyond language. And I would even go as far as saying that even if you read these comic books and there wasn't that much dialogue, you would understand more or less what's going on. Not only because the art is spectacular, but because we are going for that really powerful visual storytelling that lucha libre is known for.
Well, I mean, again, it's all about the visuals, right? Like Rich was saying, you might not know what's going on, you're not be able to understand, but there's such a language within the flow that just it's universal. You don't need to understand. It's just, you automatically do. It's like you got your own translator right there, and you're just like, you pick it up, and that's the beauty of it. And I think that's why it sucks so many people in, is the flow of it, and it's just transcendent upon any languages. And it's one of those few times where like everybody can kind of come together. I mean, wrestling and comics, very rarely, like those are just two things on this earth that can kind of bring people together.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just so much overlap, like with people who enjoy pop culture and nerd culture. There's just a lot of overlap here. Like, it's not only the lucha libre and the comic book, it's also the horror and the fantasy and the monsters and the big deep lore, because there is a huge document of lore we're going to be exploring little by little. So there is a lot to love for anyone who enjoys nerd culture. And more to the point, the fact that all these stories have different genres and characters, there is something for everybody. Honestly, if you don't like horror, you might not enjoy the Tinieblas story as much, but you will enjoy the more GI Joe conspiracy theory political thriller thing that Conan is doing, right? So that is something that really speaks for our interest in making this accessible and open and enjoyable for anyone who wants to pick it up.
And I think that's so great too, especially with introducing a new universe. Like, you're giving fans a little piece of everything, that you're really making this so accessible that there's no way they can't get hooked on day one. That it's like, for anybody that wants to see something different, something out of the norm, you're literally giving them like, okay, if you don't like this, try this. If you don't like this, try that. And I think that's just a brilliant way to go about it, because we live in this time now where there's so many great books out that there's literally something for everybody. And the take that you're doing here, I really think is going to be one that connects with fans too. So that being said, what was the first comic that got you involved in comics? Like, what really made you a fan?
So this is a fun story because of what you just said about how you open a comic book and you know who you're supposed to root for and who's the good guy and the bad guy. But the first comic I ever read was my brother got Nightfall, Batman's Nightfall. When
Okay.
I was, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, more that age, more or less. The fun thing here is that I did read the thing, and the whole way through I was like, who is this guy? And that was Bane, and I'm him. I want him to win. You know, I was 100% rooting for him. That's why I have the mask back there. So that was the first time I read a comic book, and it was kind of a really fun, mind-blowing moment for me, because I was familiar with the character of Batman at that point because of the movies that came out in the 80s, but I wasn't a huge fan. Like, I did not like the movies. Actually, they kind of scared the hell out of me when I saw them the first time, the Tim Burton versions.
Oh, really?
So yeah, the Joker just absolutely terrified me.
Okay.
So I wasn't that familiar with it. So once I got this comic book and I recognized Batman, and my brother more or less gave me some context, I started reading and I saw all these other characters who appear, right? Like, I think Barbara's there. I think Azael is there. Several characters I had never ever heard of before. Obviously, Bane are there. And this kind of blew my mind, because my brother explained to me, yeah, the movie is just like a small story. What you are reading here is a small glimpse into a huge, huge universe. Like, there are a million characters you are not familiar with, and a million storylines that you're not familiar with. Batman is so much bigger than the movie you just saw. And that kind of blew my mind, because I was like, where do I get more? And my brother also got like the Death of Superman arc, and I read the Death of Superman.
Yeah.
Blew my mind, absolutely. And that was just such a huge moment of awakening for me as a writer as well. Like, I started writing when I was 12, and getting to understand how these things were done, and getting to understand not only in terms of industry, but the storytelling principles used to write something like this kind of blew my mind. And it's a lot of fun, because when I look at LUCHAVERSE Catalyst, it's a lot like the first time I picked up Nightfall, because it is a glimpse into a gigantic world behind it. And it does have a huge scope. Like, if you read these books, there are small winks into a huge universe. Like, we are using the suffix verse for LUCHAVERSE, and it's not an accident. It is very deliberate. And we'd really like to communicate the idea that this Catalyst is really just a kickoff to something huge that we're going to explore little by little with the oncoming stories after the Catalyst.
Super excited. I mean, I'm pumped for all of this.
Yeah, same here.
But in wrestling, that's what I mostly talk about here at Nerd Initiative. But at wrestling, we like to fantasy book a lot. So my question is, if you can put anybody in the Luchaverse against any comic book character, if you obviously the copyrights aren't an issue here, would you, what comic book, if you got to play in the play box of any comic character out there or multiple characters, who would you pick to be in the Luchaverse? They can be a villain, they can be a hero, it doesn't matter.
That is such a good question, and you just completely blindsided me, because I have 1,000 ideas in my head. The one of my absolute favorite characters in comic books is Beast from X-Men. Like, I adore Beast.
Okay.
I would love to see an interaction and maybe a fight between like Beast and Tinieblas, because I like the idea of Tinieblas being a monster hunter and kind of just launching an attack against Beast, and then kind of finding out that, yeah, dude looks like a monster, but he's actually an absolute genius. And since Tinieblas is a genius as well, I have this idea that they would kind of fight each other and then just be BFFs or whatever, like kind of a Godzilla versus King Kong kind of thing.
Okay.
But that is one question that's gonna haunt me tonight. I'm really gonna follow that up.
Well, I mean, I'm going to go with low-lying fruit here, but let's be honest. You could get the matchup between Penta and the Joker.
Oh,
We know
yeah.
we know Penta likes to do the Joker cosplay
Joker thing, yeah.
occasionally in his lucha. So that would be kind of interesting to see Penta versus the Joker. Although I will say this, one of the I should say an up-and-comer, because he's still a young man, that I tend to enjoy watching in AAA is Nino Hamburguesa. And I would like to see him possibly take on like the Blob.
Oh man, yeah, that would be one hell of a match. And
the battle of heavyweights. Let's go.
I actually just thought of something because I honestly cannot stop thinking about it, and I absolutely want to add this. So Solar and Super Astro are these hyper powerful sci-fi space exploring characters. Having them go against my other all-time favorite comic book character, which is Thanos, would be just absolutely awesome. It would be kind of a Doctor Doom situation, and I would love to see that happen.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be amazing. Like, I could just imagine the Luchaverse just taking on the Justice League. Like, for some reason, I think you want to just put heavyweights to heavyweights, and just really just have them go at it. Because it's like I say, to give this that real like epic feel. I know that like that gets thrown around so much, like saying epic, but it's like you want to see what you're doing here, and then just coming off what we've seen thus far and what you've been able to tease coming, it's like, yeah, this is an epic event, and especially creating a new universe for everybody. This is the perfect time going into it. I mean, obviously wrestling has been very, very hot right now with everything going on. WrestleMania setting records left and right. The indies are blowing up right now. Like, was there any kind of just plan to go in about this, just kind of like, this is the time to do it? Like, why wait? Or was it just kind of like, no, we're just planning for the right moment to spring this?
I would say that it's a second one. Like, I wasn't really involved in the planning process for the publishing.
Okay.
But I do know that there was some careful planning on not only from the Mass Republic side, but of course from Massive side, where when can we release this comic book, when it would be a good moment to do it. I think the moment they picked for many reasons is a pretty good choice, and I do think and I certainly hope that it's really gonna click with people who are right now looking for something new to read.
Absolutely.
I think so, for sure. I mean, so I know you were also talking about how there's like different horror aspects and things. Do they all kind of at one point, like, do they tie in together in one overarching story, or are they something that people can actually pick up individually?
So yeah, so this, I would say that the Catalyst comic books, with the exception of the last, can be picked up separately. It's in the same way that you can watch Thor and then watch Iron Man, and it doesn't really matter which one you watch, as long as by the time Avengers comes you have read both. I think that does apply here as well. But the idea here again is accessibility. And yeah, it is, like I said before, it is the same universe. It is decidedly so, and it's very clear. But they are each very different from one another. So if you are not that much into like the more political stuff from Conan, you might enjoy the horror aspects of Tinieblas. And they do tie, like at the end of the third Catalyst, it is the moment in which all these stories come together and kind of start off their new journeys for the next, I guess, the next phase of the Luchaverse.
Ooh, we get phases. I like that.
Yeah, no, it is it is the term I've been using.
I was gonna say I'm super pumped for it.
I am. I gotta know though, because you've been such an avid wrestling fan since you were 6, and you've been tied in this universe. Have you ever stepped into the ring at all and tried your hand at wrestling?
It is the one thing that I've always wanted to do. Like, I've been there, and I've been right under the ring, and I've said hi to many wrestlers, some of which are wrestlers I really admire, like Beast Mortos, and I've noticed like I'm like much bigger than they are, but I know I could never ever do the stuff they do, but I love the whole mysticism and regalia and the whole thing so much that it's the one thing that I would have loved to do when I was younger, I guess.
Ooh, follow-up question then. What is your, all right, since you've kind of thought about it, you've always wanted to do it, what would your dream, like if you can come up with your own wrestling character, your own, what would yours look like?
Oh man, they beat me to it, honestly. But I would love to be a Minotaur. Like
Oh yeah.
I love Minotaurs. I like almost every story I've ever written has one in one way or another. And the first, when I got to know Beast Mortos as a character, he was Black Taurus, and I remember seeing him fight with the whole Minotaur mask and the barbarian clothes and everything, and I was like, man, that is so cool. I wish I was him.
I keep forgetting he changed his name.
Yeah, it's so recent. So
Yeah.
And I would definitely be a heel. Like I like being a really kind person, and I will always fight for kindness in the real world. But as a character, oh man,
I love
it would
playing
be
that
another
like
story.
a-hole. It's so much fun. Because, like,
Yeah.
if you think about them in the movies and things, the nicest people on earth most often play like that bad guy because it's something that they never do in real life, and they get to tap into that side. And so it's kind of just one of those, like, it's made up at the same time. It's not, it's all still very real. So I would love to see that. I'm with you. I would love to play like that. That just a-hole out there in the ring. Those are the best.
And the fun thing is that, like, thanks to my experience with voice acting, I have had the chance to play some very villainous characters, like a Battle Trap in Transformers, the last movie. Like he was a giant jerk, and it was just so much fun to play the big role with the big boys and the just get your ass kicked at some point or another because you are the bad guy. It just happens, and I know how much fun it could be, and just doing it like in front of people and getting booed and you go to hell or whatever. That whole thing sounds like so much fun.
Oh yeah, being a heel is way better than being the face. I mean, let's be honest, way more fun. Also, second note, as somebody who has done stuff in wrestling, I will say this: if you ever going to take a bump in the ring, do it in the U.S. because the notoriously the Mexican rings are super stiff. So
that is a good note. Thank you so much.
Yeah, because I know I've heard Conan on numerous occasions say how hard the rings were in Mexico, and there's a bunch of other workers that I know who Sam Adonis has said the same thing. It's like it's night and day. It's like it's a pillow in the States comparatively. So,
oh man, that is something I was not aware of.
They're just harder for whatever reason, harder rings. But you know what? Once again, half the time in lucha, you're on the floor. You're doing dives to the floor. You're doing dives. Into the crowd. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's such a great art form, and it's like, because like going back to what you said earlier, it's one of those art forms where the athletic prowess it takes to do the things that they do is kind of like, hey, I understand that this is wrestling and it's a work and it's whatever, but to see the guys fly around and set up these dives, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you hate pro wrestling. As soon as you see a guy do like a triple somersault on a group of guys, you're going to go, okay, I want to see more of that. And that's what lucha has going for it above anything else. And
it is something you just can't fake. Like, people can go, yeah, that's fake. Yeah, except flying. There's no wires attached to them. They are actually doing this stuff.
It's fake, but you're literally getting hit with stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it is something that can't be faked. And anyone who enjoys any spectacle on any level is going to enjoy watching a Lucha Libre match. And the cool thing is that you don't need to watch the biggest names in Lucha Libre to watch these incredible spectacles going on. Like, even the most amateur and smaller guys who are just beginning their careers and training, they do some insane stuff.
Yeah, it's always good to be on the ground floor too, because like I said, you see some guys go out there, and the next thing you know, they are the next big thing.
Yeah,
and it's just kind of in lucha. I think, and I'm not saying all the pro wrestling, we see the stars come up,
sure,
but for some reason, I feel like lucha, and I think it is the family dynamic, is you get to see generations of characters just continue on that tradition. You had Blue Demon, now you have Blue Demon Jr. And eventually we'll have enough, you know what I mean? And it's just, Rey Mysterio, of course, famously, it wasn't his father, it was his uncle. But, you have, he was Rey Mysterio Jr. Now he's Rey Mysterio. His son could have been Rey Mysterio Jr. if he wanted to be. And it's kind of one of those things where, like, you carry on, and you see it over and over again, where I think in a lot of other places, you don't really know, unless, now it's a big talking point of how many generations a wrestler is, but, you might not know that somebody is a multi-generational wrestler. I think, when we think about people we find out recently, I think it wasn't that long ago where Carmella found out her dad was an enhancement guy.
Yeah.
In the 80s and 90s. and like, but nobody knew that when she came in. So she's a second generation star. But in when you're in Mexico and you're doing lucha in particular, everybody knows your family lineage. They know who your father is. They know who, a lot of times you marry into other families and you have, all, so many great things. I mean, I know, speaking of, WWE, where Rey Mysterio is, you have Andrade. Andrade comes from a rich, obviously, a very rich, history in lucha, and so many other. It's just amazing just to see the fans, like, just, you get to attach yourself. It's not just like, it's like, I could equate it to American football, where we get crazy about teams, and down there you can literally pick a family and it just go, oh, this is the family I follow. And on top of that, then outside of that, then you have all the people they trained, et cetera, et cetera. It's amazing. It's just a great culture.
Rich, if you say family one more time, I'm going to go off on a Fast and Furious tangent.
Sorry. Man. Sorry. It is all about family.
Yeah, it is so awesome. And it kind of brings me back to the whole superhero thing. Like, you see throughout the ages of these characters, how other characters have picked up the mask of, maybe Batman dropped it and someone else picks it up and they are the new Batman, and Spider-Man or whatever. And that is something that I really, really like. And it does happen. Like, it is not a storyline. It is something that is happening. And like, if Tinieblas, nobody forced Tinieblas Jr. to become a wrestler. He was like, this is what my father did, and I want to wear that mask next for the next 30 years. And he's doing his thing right now. And that is this legacy component of lucha libre as well. Is just so cool.
Yeah, it's like I say, for what you're doing, and especially with the history of comics and wrestling, and unleashing this new universe on there, to say that you're going to blaze a whole new trail of that very rich history. I say 1 month away. What is the final sales pitch if anybody's still not convinced about picking up this book on July 17th?
Okay, let me think about this.
First of all, why?
Yeah.
So we are offering a whole new unexplored world that no one is familiar with. Like, you could be the first person to get to know the new big comic universe, and from the ground up. And if you are not familiar with these characters, and even if you are, you will be subjected to a new cast of very colorful. I do mean that literally and not literally. Characters with diverse storytelling aspects, and a very rich crew of writers and artists behind it. And it's just entirely new. It's something that's close to what comic book fans have been offered for the last 60 years, but starting from the ground up. And the Luchaverse is going to kick that off from nothing. So we really do invite you to be a part of it from the beginning, because it really is going to be worth it. It's going to be huge.
I think from what we've seen thus far, there is no way this is not a must pick up on July 17th. Seriously, if you are hearing us on podcast form, or if you're watching us on YouTube, you need to make a point to get down to your local comic shops. You need to make sure that you have a couple copies ordered at the shops by June 17th, because you do not want to miss out on what is honestly going to be a historic event, because combining the history of wrestling and comics is one thing, but for what they're doing here with Masked Republic and Massive Publishing, this is truly something special. You don't want to be the only one that doesn't have an issue and you're missing out on what everybody's going to be talking about at the shops. Trust me when I say this, you need to make sure this is ordered up this weekend. Diego, thank you so much for coming on the show. We definitely have to talk to you again when Catalyst event is done.
I love talking to you guys, being a part of your community. It was just so much fun. Your questions really got me thinking, and I'm actually still thinking about it. So I really appreciate the time and the enthusiasm, and I would love to be back whenever you guys will have me.
Absolutely. I definitely like to talk to you some more. As you could tell, I could talk all night about just wrestling, which
maybe next time I will be a wrestler, and I will be masked up.
There you go.
All right, there we go.
Awesome.
I'm here for that. Matt, why don't you tell everybody what's going on with you in Hopsgeeks News?
Yeah, man. So, of course, you can find us each and every week by searching Hops Geek News, scan the QR code. We had some really good articles coming out tomorrow for nerdinitiative.com, New Comic Book Day. And then also tomorrow, Tom is going to be hopping on the show. We're going to be talking about the transition of pop culture, geek culture, how they kind of merge together. And then at 8 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night, actually, Lauren and I are going to go live on our channels to do a Cantina Hour where we are going to be talking about Star Wars The Acolyte, which reminds me, new episode in like 10 minutes. Let us know your thoughts. And then, man, be on the lookout. Make sure for nerdinitiative.com, man, Star Wars content. I've been pushing that out. I've been kind of leading the charge there. So be on the lookout for some more Star Wars content. And then hopefully after this week, when things kind of slow down, I can get some more post-show Star Wars. But I mean, again, Diego, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to kind of pick your brain and just share the enthusiasm with you. It was so much fun, man. So thank you so much.
I really appreciate it. It was a pleasure on my end as well.
Thank you. Rich?
So first of all, if you'd like to talk to me, go to 3fnpodcast.com. That's where all the social media links, nice QR code there. Also, if you'd like to hear an adult humor, pretty much, movie review podcast. Yeah, that's right. That's what we do this week. Actually, tonight, after I get out of here, we'll be releasing our review of Bad Boys, Ride or Die.
Oh,
yes.
Interesting. A lot of fun. The patrons already have it, so that's going to be coming out tonight. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, I am the head of NI Wrestling, and I'm also the host of Wrestling Night Live every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Nerd Initiative YouTube and across the streaming that we do, Talking Pro Wrestling. And I'm going to click off of here and click over to here real quick because we have a special guest. Also, speaking of the Luchaverse invasion, Kevin Kleinrock will be joining us on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking more about the Luchaverse, talking about more about Masked Republic, and also on top of that, we will be talking about what's going on in pro wrestling. I can tell you, a former man who dabbled in lucha, one Prince Puma,
Yes.
Ricochet, will be a hot topic of conversation this week on the show, as well as building up to, of course, Clash at the Castle. New Japan Wrestling had Dominion, and they have the All Together show coming up, and TNA's Against All Odds. So much more this Thursday night, so make sure you check that out right here on the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. Ken, it's time for your laundry list.
It is true, but you know, we say we appreciate when Rich is behind the chair, but we need him on the screen a little more often than we see him.
Oh, thank you.
Would join us on Tuesday nights. For me, odphpodcast.com, Nerd Initiative loves QR codes. Boom, there it is. Takes you there. 2 new episodes coming this week. And this edition of Turn a Page will be getting released on Hops Geeks News and ODPH Podcast Network this week. So you definitely want to make sure you're subbed up so you don't miss out on that, because it's going to have all the information you need to go down to the comic shops and order this book, because that is our universal pick of the week, to go down to the comic shops and order Luchaverse Catalyst by Massive Publishing and Masked Republic. And then obviously every Tuesday night, you know, it's Turn a Page time here on Nerd Initiative YouTube. And more importantly, Wednesday, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, every 15 minutes, new reviews by the hardest working team in comic reviews, bar none, the Nerd Initiative Bullpen. We have a loaded day dropping, so if you need to know what to pick up at the comic shops, boom, there you go. Make sure that QR code is saved on your desktop, on your phone, wherever you need to, because you can't walk into the comic shop without taking a look at the picks you need to have in your collection. And there's a homework assignment that we definitely have to say, because obviously if we're going to be having Diego back on and some more fine folks from Massive Publishing talking about this universe, you don't want to miss out on this. I mean, seriously, why would you want to? There, you got to hit that subscribe button on Nerd Initiative YouTube. Make sure to hit that bell notification and tap that thumbs up to let the boss know that you like the programming you're seeing on here. Because if you want more Luchaverse, we can make that happen, but you have to let us know. And trust me, July 18th, I'm expecting the phones to blow up. I'm expecting emails to go crazy. And everybody has this book and is going, when are they coming back on? Simple. That's how we do business.
Legit.
Yes, and you see where Matt is rocking. That's some Nerd Initiative merchandise.
Oh, what's this?
Because
y'all need some hat to protect your head this summer. Don't worry.
Exactly. If you're going out to the cons, you definitely need to rock some gear. And there's no other better place to do it than nerdinitiative.com, where you have the links right there, and you can get a hat like that for your favorite con this summer. And wherever you're going to be traveling, they got cups, they got hoodies, they got shirts. You name it, they got it. And also, you want to make sure, last but certainly not least, nerdinitiative.com, the home of pop culture positivity. Get familiar. Make sure you're subbed up on every channel that you can, and don't miss all the content coming, because trust us, there's a lot on the way. So that being said, when you're at the comic shops and you have a great issue in your hand, July 17th, that's Luchaverse Catalyst #1. and you see somebody struggling to find something at the shops, hand yours off to them. Tell them to turn a page. We'll see you next time.